ready?
It's time to talk sports. National, local, professional, completely unprofessional, high school and college.
Let's take it even further off the hook.
It's the Zach Gelb Show.
We are rolling
on Fox Sports 920, The Jersey.
Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of Fox Sports 920, The Jersey, the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios to be exact. Welcome in on this gloomy Tuesday, 609-919-9200. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Fox Sports 920, The Jersey, 920 AM, Bucks, Burlington, Mercer counties, or worldwide on the web at 920thejersey.com. 29th day of November in the year of 2016. It's a dreary day outside, and it's even more of a dreary day inside, because last night I was up late because I was coming home from that disaster at Lincoln Financial Field. The Birds get embarrassed for the first time all year at home, their first loss at home on the season. Unfortunately, that came at a bad time, puts them under 500, makes them 5-6. Aaron Rodgers had his day and had it all night at Lincoln Financial Field by a final of 27-13. It got off to a good start. Back and forth, Rodgers Wentz, you thought you had something. And then really that Wentz interception really was the turning point, and also the Fletcher Cox penalty. The roughing the passer, you just can't have that. They're going to call that 10 times out of 10 when you get in that quarterback's head and neck area. I was wrong, folks, and most of you were wrong as well. Let's realize that. We thought this team was going to show up at home, and they did the complete antithesis of showing up at home. And when I was driving to the stadium, got done with the show at 6 yesterday, I was feeling good. I picked the Eagles to win 26-24. And then I got an ominous feeling when I heard the news that Brandon Brooks was out. And I got that feeling when I was sitting in traffic. It took me about an hour to get from exit 17 into my parking spot. And I would have been late for the game if it wasn't for the fact that a benevolent parking attendant gave me a very good VIP parking spot. If I had to actually go to the lot that I was supposed to go to, I would still be waiting to get in line. That's how bad the traffic was last night. So I got in 5 minutes before kickoff. Good start to the game. And that was basically it. Let's start with the biggest gripe I have from last night. And that was the defense. The defense was MIA. They were a no-show last night. And that's the strength of this team. And for the biggest game of the year, they came up extremely small. 10 of 14 on third down. I know Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback, a great quarterback. You can't let any quarterback convert 10 of 14 on third downs. No rush by this Eagles defensive line. The secondary was putrid. I'm sick of seeing Leotis McKelvin. Fletcher Cox, that penalty was brutal. And I get it. Some people, including myself, would like to see that flag not be called. That's football today. You can't hit the quarterback in that area. And that was a 17-13 game at the time. If that penalty doesn't happen, you don't see a 13-play, 75-yard touchdown drive that put the game out of reach. And on that drive, by the way, they couldn't get off the field 3rd and 4. That was the Cox penalty. Then they could not get off the field on a 3rd and 2, a 3rd and 5, and a 3rd and 10. 4 chances you couldn't get off the field. A really putrid defensive performance last night. And I thought Jim Schwartz should have talked after the game. I know he only talks once a week. After you have a performance like that, I want to hear Jim Schwartz talk. And Jim Schwartz did not do that last night. That defensive line was bad. And that's the strength of this team. Brandon Graham not showing up. Vinny Curry not showing up. Fletcher Cox not showing up. Connor Barwin not showing up. A disaster defensive line performance. But it wasn't only the defense. Because the next person I'm going to lambaste is the head football coach. It was really bad last night. An awful, and I mean awful, 2-yard challenge. And I thought the challenge was bad. It worked for him. But we're talking about 2 yards, and you're risking going the rest of the game without a challenge in the third quarter. You thought, though, that decision was bad. The explanation after the game, when I was in the facility, listening to what he had to say at the postgame press conference was even worse. Let's listen up to what Doug Peterson had to say after the game last night on his pathetic explanation on why he challenged.
Thought process there was to where they were on the field. Yeah, it might have only a 2-yard game, but you take into consideration, 2nd and 8, 2nd and 10, backs them up 2 yards. You still want to play the field position game, whether they end up punting it or going for it on 4th down. If you can stop them, get them off the field, and just an opportunity to keep them, in a second and long situation, knowing that that obviously it was an incomplete pass, and knowing that you were going to be out of challenges, just needed something to keep them really at a little bit longer yardage at that time and try to help our defense.
That's a lot of BS in that answer. You're talking about the difference from the 39-yard line to the 37. It's 2 yards. For crying out loud, you don't need to challenge that. If that was on 3rd down, I get it. Because then you get off the field. But not that early. You're talking about 2 yards on an incompletion. Doug, just be transparent after the game. Don't give us that BS excuse and that BS response. Just say, hey guys, I screwed up. Because that was a bad decision by you. Now, that decision didn't cost them the game by any stretch. Some other problems I have with the head coach last night. They get a 1st down. They were pinned. They pick up 20 yards, a beautiful throw. Wentz to Matthews. And then the next play, they run that fake end around. And it lost 14. And the quarterback got drilled. Why do you have to be cute there? And really, the biggest problem I had with Peterson last night was that he only ran the ball 18 total times. I was advocating for Wendell Smallwood to get 18 or 19 carries last night. The entire offense only ran the ball 18 times. You got to help out your quarterback here in Carson Wentz, because on the other side, if you're a defensive coordinator, if you're Capers, what you're trying to do when you look at this Eagles team in the year of 2016, the offense, you want to take away the run game. The reason you want to take away the run game is because the wide receivers stink and the offensive line's decimated. Force Wentz to throw a football, then you're going to get interceptions. Just ask Seattle. Just ask the Giants. The ironic part was Doug Peterson took the run game away last night because he only ran the ball 18 times. There was no commitment to the run. And we'll get into what he had to say today, because I thought last night's press conference was bad. It was even worse today. Doug's a nice guy. I don't know if he's a great football coach. I don't know if he's a good football coach. That's still to be determined. I'm not in this minuscule camp today that says, fire the coach. Let's settle down. He hasn't even got through 16 games in his career. The one thing, though, that I will not stand for is when a coach gets up there, and I don't know if he meant this to come off arrogant, but it's perceived as arrogant from an optics standpoint. When you have the audacity to say, oh, well, hey, if you didn't play the game, you can't understand, or something along those lines. That won't fly in Philadelphia. The fans are too intelligent to settle for that crap. Doug has a lot of work to do. I need to see something in these next 5 games from not only the players, but also the coach. Because my confidence after last night with the coach is not good. And also with the coach, this is not just a one-time thing. It's not one bad game. Should have kicked the field goal against the Cowboys and should have kicked 2 field goals against the Giants. It's consistency, bad play calling, and bad decisions by the coach that I am apprehensive about. And finally, let's get to the offense. Good start, disaster after that. They sit Aguilar. It was the right call to sit Aguilar. They didn't really use Turner. They didn't really use the other options. DGB had a nice game until he had that penalty. They didn't use a lot of these options, and I was surprised by it. Let me see some more Bryce Treggs. Let's just be realistic here, folks. The Eagles have a quarterback on offense, and they have a number 2 wide receiver in Jordan Matthews. Other than that, they don't have a lot of good pieces. And those get exposed over the course of 60 minutes. Big picture, let's not overreact. I thought this team was 6-10 going into the year. I thought they maybe at most their apex would be 7-9. I'm confident they have a QB. I don't know what the head coach is. And I still, even though Howie made good moves in the offseason, I still don't know what Howie Roseman's going to do. Because these next 2 offseasons will define, and they're massive offseasons, what will happen for Philadelphia. Because you have big-time holes at cornerback, wide receiver, and offensive line. Look at the Colts. They have a quarterback in Andrew Luck. I hope and I implore Howie Roseman that he doesn't turn out to be Ryan Grigson. Because they need to get help around him. And it's not only going to be this offseason, it's going to be the next offseason as well. They fooled us in the beginning of the year. You see the potential of a really good quarterback. That will keep you in games. You want to elevate yourself to the next step? Well, guess what? Your general manager, or whatever title they have for Howie Roseman these days, needs to make the proper moves. And the head coach needs to start doing his job. The next few games, these players, they're fighting for their jobs. And I want to see them fight. Playoffs, they're done. They're not running the table. Last night was disappointment. Big picture, I'm not ready to jump off the ship yet. I'm not ready to freak out yet. I was disappointed last night, no question, because the defense came up small and the coach wasn't good. And the quarterback threw a bad interception. But big picture, though, they have a quarterback and they need to now build around that quarterback. And I have to just switch gears real quickly, because since we are in New Jersey, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you today on the show that the New York Mets have re-signed Yoenis Cespedes.
Yes! 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 Yes!
That's right, folks. 4 years, $110 million. Thank you, Wilpons. Thank you, Sandy Alderson. You now have a player that is back with this team, that has great camaraderie with this team, and puts fear into the opposition. We'll talk more Cespedes. We'll talk more Eagles. We got also a lot of college football talk to do. Here is the guest list for you, and we can get you on board as well at 609-919-9200. Coming up next, we have Tim Brando to talk some college football. At 4:40, the head coach of Navy. He will play Temple this week. That's Ken Niumatalolo. And then in the 5 o'clock hour at 5:15, Zach Berman from the Philadelphia Inquirer will join us to talk about that disaster of a game at Lincoln Financial Field. So what we'll do right now is we'll take our first break of the day. Time right now in the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios, 4:13. We'll take a quickie break, and we'll be back. College football talk, Eagles on the back burner for a brief few minutes as Tim Brando will join us next.